Yes.
Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order. It is 6:30 on Tuesday, May 17th, 2022 for the Everman City Council regular meeting. If everybody please rise for a moment of silence, I'll pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item is consent agenda. Item A, April 5th, 2022 regular meeting minutes, April 19th, 2022 regular meeting minutes. And then item B is financial report, April 2022. I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve the consent agenda as read.
A second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, is this supposed to be March or April?
It's April's. Okay, I will reprint. My apologies. I printed the wrong one.
Also, on the transparency spreadsheet that's online, is it up to date?
No, ma'am. It is not, because there was a problem with Intellicus, the reporting. I had a ticket in with STW and that has now been fixed. So I will be able to upload that either later this evening or tomorrow morning.
Okay, because it was showing February.
Yes.
The 414,000 that we got from Mark VC, is that going to be in the Parks Department general fund, or where is that going to be posted once we get it?
That will just be deposited into a typical grant fund, and then we'll have to do a budget amendment for any capital items that we purchase. Primarily, I'm trying to think through this. The majority of the projects underneath that grant will be under parks. There will be some funding that is applied to the sports association. But what we'll do is essentially when the funds come in, we'll show that revenue into the grant line item. We'll expend the funds like we would for any other budget line item, like in capital projects. And then we'll do a budget amendment following the completion of those projects to offset those funds.
Okay, so would that be under general fund, or will that be under
Yes.
Parks?
It will be under general fund.
Well, Susan, I think Craig kind of answered my question this afternoon, but I noticed that all the expenditures were above the 58.331%.
Yes, and I was actually going to bring that up this evening. The ones that I sent out were in fact the April, and I will go and print those in just a second. My apologies, but the expenditures, yes, there were quite a few. And as you'll notice on the bottom, the footnotes, I've indicated what the issues were, and the majority of them are due to budget amendments that need to follow. And we will have those at the next council meeting. Since we won't have financials, we'll have the budget amendments next.
Well, once we get all the budget amendments,
Then it'll adjust the percentages back to where they should be.
okay, that's just what I want to make sure of. So,
Absolutely.
okay. Any other questions?
Yes, as far as our water rate increase, that was in the minutes for, I think, April of the 15th, 19th. When will the city, not city, but the businesses and the residents be notified of that?
Of water rate increase?
No,
Well,
we aren't proposing an increase this year.
I thought the 4% that we're
Oh,
By
for the trash.
for the
For
trash.
Yes, yes.
They're going to be notified this billing cycle. It'll take effect next month in June.
in June.
There will be a footnote on there along with a footnote for the annual consumer
Yeah.
CCR, the
This-
required TCEQ thing for the water department. Both those footnotes are going to be on this next water bill. The 4.1% increase reflects roughly a 60 cent per water account increase overall. So it's not hugely impactful to the end user.
But the city itself is not increasing. We did not propose
Right,
an
right,
increase
right.
this year.
Any other questions? Poll the council.
Place 1. Aye. Place 3.
Aye.
Place 4.
Aye.
Place 5.
Aye.
Place 6.
Aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
Next item, citizens' comments. You got anything to say? You got anything, Mindy? You have us all, so. Okay. Next item, discussion, item A, review and discussion of park rules.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Wanted to bring this to your attention tonight. There's been a lot of discussion regarding all the park improvements and things that we're doing. We have had a lot of experience with people bringing dogs to Pittman Park, particularly on leashes, even though our ordinance prohibits it. It's very difficult to enforce.
Yeah.
Talking with several residents, one of the complaints that we often hear is just that we don't have anywhere for anybody to take animals. We don't have a dog park or any place that allows folks to take their dogs to on a leash. We wanted to just propose the idea of maybe allowing dogs on leashes within Pittman Park. Since that's got the most space here, as opposed to Johnson Park, where we have a lot of people that come to visit Johnson Park all at one time, large crowds, probably wouldn't be most conducive for allowing dogs in that park. But we just wanted to propose that idea, as well as give an opportunity to review our park rules, since we've done so much within our parks. If there's any rules you would like to change or amend or bring up, but wanted to get your feedback on that. If we do, well, regardless of how we proceed, we are planning to get more appropriate signage to put at each one of the parks that highlights the ordinances and the specific articles, the numbers that they can reference if they want to, as well as the fines, and placing those throughout our parks. We've had some issues here recently. We actually had a couple residents take their dogs into Memorial Park, close the gate behind them, and just let their dogs roam free in the Memorial Park. And that's just not acceptable. So we need to put some better signage up to alert residents to what the rules are and then what the potential consequences are.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I wanted to give council an opportunity to amend any of those. The only recommendation that we have is maybe potentially allowing dogs on leashes within Pittman Park. Obviously, they would still have to comply with vaccination rules and cleaning up after their pet, those sorts of things.
Where is Anderson Field?
That is the name of the football field here. The Pee Wee
okay.
football field is Anderson Field.
Okay, didn't know that.
Dick Anderson was our county commissioner
I believe so.
back in the day when they built that field.
Says owners must pick up pet waste. We've got trash cans around. Okay,
Yeah, we do have trash cans around each one of the parks.
Okay.
We're actually looking at improving those trash cans within this next budget. We'll talk about that when we
Okay.
get to budget. That's one of the things on the list this next year to try to improve are the trash cans at the parks. The other thing that we can propose within the budget this next year is actually providing a couple of those dispensaries
yes.
for the bags
Where I
for the
was
pet
going with
waste.
that, yeah.
We could put a couple of those around the walking track or various locations in the park, so they're
Okay.
available if the citizens don't have their own.
Okay,
I would think as far as Memorial Park is concerned, that no dogs would be allowed unless they were safety, what you call it?
Service animals.
Service animals.
That's what he
I
was
agree
saying.
wholeheartedly. I would,
That's very
the only
nice.
recommendation we have is just within the Pittman Park portion. I know that traditionally this whole area has always been called Pittman Park. We're trying to separate that a little bit by Memorial Park, Anderson Field, and then Pittman Park being this side that's just south of the creek between here and the Civic
do
Center.
we have a sign up that says Anderson Field?
I don't know that we do or
Okay.
don't, but we can certainly do
Yes,
that.
let's put one up.
There
Okay.
there
I mean,
used to
we
be
know it
one
is, yes.
years
Because I
ago.
never
Yes.
knew it was.
Yeah, but-
The whole thing used to be called
Mhm.
Dick Anderson.
Yeah, well, that section was. I
They
mean, this
called
was,
that to it one
Yeah.
time, though.
so,
It's older than you are. It was the whole thing.
yeah, I remember when we built that football field, so.
I just had my doubts
70,
that people are going to follow those rules.
Really?
I mean, they don't follow them already now. So
Right.
just having something in place and allowing them to do it may help the situation, I believe. I mean, they still do it anyways.
Yes, but we'll have the
There's not-
rules and the consequences up, and we need
Right.
to enforce the consequences.
But it can't be enforced and watched 24 hours a day,
No, we can't, but,
but they're not going to go by those rules.
well, I mean, we can't have anarchy. We got to have some kind of rules, and when we notice them, then we'll take care of them. And you're right, they shouldn't be up there at 2:00 in the morning anyway. I mean, the parks close at 11. So it's stated.
So it's
So-
stated.
The only question I have is about the vaccination. So let's say that, how are you going to know that dog is up to?
Should have a tag.
We typically won't, and this is very similar to how we do a lot of enforcement on the police side. We typically won't unless an incident occurs, and then we'll require them to provide proof. And if they cannot provide the proof, then they'll be guilty of a misdemeanor in which we can fine them.
Okay.
Very similar to how the open carry laws work.
Got
We can see somebody with a firearm all day long on their hip. Well, we
Got it.
can't necessarily go up and ask them to provide proof that they have a license to carry.
Okay.
Unless an incident or a complaint arises, then at that point we can investigate. That's how this would operate.
Yeah, okay. Just wanted to get clarification on that. Thanks.
Well, ever since that walking track has been there, there's always been people with dogs.
And
It
roller
is very
skates and-
heavily used.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, and it's unfortunate because we don't have a place for dogs. We don't have a place for kids to ride their bikes or roller skate.
right.
So they
Right.
have used this,
Yeah.
park for that. But like I said, if we set out rules and we do implement them little by little, because they're still doing it, so we might as well just
Well, we-
allow it.
But we have had times when we've had kids bitten out there too. So, and I think that's why the big push was
Put them on a
to
leash.
ban them from the parks.
Yes.
Back when that was done, because we did have a number of children that was bit out
Well,
there
and
by
some of the
dogs. so-
walkers were being,
Harassed by the dogs.
yeah,
They still carry sticks when they're out there walking.
yeah.
They do. They do. Yes, I've seen that. Well, we have the signs where, if it is harassment by the dog or something happens that the person is responsible, once they call the police, because you're going to call the police if they get bit.
Yes.
Once that happens, the people are there. What are we going to do? That's when we take action, right?
Yes.
Is that limited only to dogs because people have rode horses out there before?
It's actually against our ordinance to ride. We do have a section within our park ordinance that prohibits riding of horses in the parks as well. That's just a matter of enforcement. We need to do a better job of enforcing those rules.
So if you see
Unless
somebody
council
on a
chooses
horse,
to
call.
allow horses. I mean, obviously that's your
No.
choice.
That's asking for trouble.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, they
So
won't be picking up pet waste.
are you looking for anything from us other than thoughts?
Just your guidance on this, just a general consensus of what you would like to see. What we'll do is we'll go back and we'll draft an amendment to that ordinance if you so choose to amend the ordinance to say so. If council elects not to change any of the rules and keep it how it is, then we're going to move forward on ordering some new signage to put up at each one of the parks.
Okay. I think we need to do it.
Really
Yeah.
enforce keep them on a leash, then
Yes,
it
Yes.
sure help.
yes.
So is it general consensus to allow dogs at
No.
Pittman Park on a leash?
On a leash, Pittman Park only.
So this will come back again for discussion, so you have an opportunity to mull it over, but we'll start drafting that and we'll bring that back to you.
So you're
Oh.
saying Pittman only?
Well, I
What
do-
about Johnson?
Well, that's what I was
No.
gonna say. When we have baseball, season, there are people who bring their dogs out there. I mean, I've seen them the whole season now.
Mhm.
So that's probably a question there. Like, what are we gonna do? Because they still do it. Even though we say not to.
My only concern is just how crowded that park gets and how close everybody gets to each other. It's very hard to control dogs sometimes on even on a leash.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's council's decision if you want to allow dogs there as well. It's totally up to you.
Well, the
just
thing
take
is that
whatever
we've
guidance
seen
you
it
want.
and we've been
Yeah.
there, and we've seen it, they're there. So, but if we have rules in place and we have these signage,
And we
at
tell
least it
them
lets
you
them
can't bring your
know,
dog.
you
Yeah.
know, but they still bring it.
Well, I mean, I agree with Craig because the number of kids out there and you see how it is on the weekends.
Yeah.
During baseball, so there's a lot of people out there. So, and you have a situation where it may not be a dog biting one kid, it may be 3 or 4 kids getting bit
Mhm.
by the same dog. So
Or a dog fight.
True.
it, I mean, it's up to you guys.
I think it should not be at Johnson Park.
Well, from all this time that I've been there has not been an incident. That's
Do we
that's
wanna-
the only thing I can say.
what-
I've been there all this
But when
season and I
we're
have not
junk,
seen.
you
an
only see
incident.
like 1 or 2 dogs
Right.
here and there, and they're, lately.
Do we want to delineate the difference between the baseball portion of Johnson Park and then Johnson Park itself, allowing dogs in the Johnson Park area, not allowing dogs in the baseball area? Very similar to how Anderson Field versus Pittman Park. we can do something along those lines if you want to allow dogs in that area somewhere just on the park side, away from the baseball fields. And that way we can kind of guide people that do show up with dogs. Hey, we see you've got a dog. If you'd like to come over to the Johnson Park side, you can stay here. We just don't allow dogs over by the baseball fields, whatever it may be. That's an option as well.
That would be consistent between the two parks.
And it doesn't happen often. Like, I don't think Johnson Park is being utilized anyways for, I mean, I don't see dogs over there anyways. They
Yeah.
really use this.
Most
park.
people don't
Most of the
bring
time
their
it's just.
dogs.
I think
for
once the
baseball.
grant comes through and we're able to overhaul the park equipment there, you're going to see Johnson Park utilized a lot more. That park is just not utilized. The swings are broken. They're the only item there that's even of any use is that dome shaped monkey bar thing.
And the pavilion.
Nothing else is
And the
there.
basketball.
Yeah, and the basketball.
In the
goal for sure.
basketball court,
Yeah.
there's nothing else there. So once we get the grant funding, we put in all new park equipment out there. I think that park will begin to be more.
Well, maybe
heavily
we can
utilized.
address that at that time then when that happens for Johnson.
Say that again.
Oh, we're gonna have the dog park thing like that too?
We've been
Well,
talking about,
There's something we're talking about on that, but we won't discuss that tonight.
right, but it's
because
on the
there's a lot of
same,
Planning that's got to take place first.
I
okay,
mean, we had looked at that area at one time.
yes, yes.
All right.
Well, we've got something else in mind. Well, I'll go and tell you. There's no reason why we can't.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's related to the agenda. item.
Encore, we can go through them and there's that electrical easement that runs from Enon all the way to Everman Parkway.
Mhm.
And we've talked about, of course, we'd have to drop a plan and go to Encore and get their blessing, but then we can come in and put some type of approved service for walking, jogging, bicycles, whatever, kind of connect the two parks. And down at that far end, put a fenced in dog park.
We came up with that a couple, 3 years ago, that very same thing, the
Well-
Animal Control Board.
Mhm.
Okay,
That's 'cause
cool.
Being back
We
in
like
Box
that.
had been working on that before he got sick and
Mm, Well, we
it's
did it
something we've been
first.
trying to do. So Craig's going to reach out to his contact with Encore. And we're going to look at that and see.
Good, that's a perfect place for it. It's
Yeah.
totally out of the way.
At the time, we kind
That's the
of
first one we
pushed
looked
it
at.
off to the side because they were for sale. And we
Yes.
didn't want to go through the steps with this group and then another group
Yeah.
come in and say, no, you're not.
Yeah, no, we did it way
So,
before then.
But now that it's everything's settled down, it'd be a good time to.
I think it's a
focus
good
in.
idea.
Mhm.
So,
Cool.
and we've even talked about using the recycled blacktop
Yes,
for the trail.
that's cool.
So, but
Okay.
we'll let you know on that.
Yeah.
So we got to
We'll
sit down and
talk
have a
about that
meeting with
later.
them first and see what they expect and to move forward on it. So,
Animal Control Board needs to know about that stuff. Okay,
Haven't had a meeting in a little while.
couple months. March?
Next meeting.
okay, so we're gonna allow dogs at this park with the stipulations Craig said, but do we want to separate the sections of Johnson Park? We just want to ban them all together, at Johnson Park for the time being.
Well, it makes sense to do it both at the same time. I mean, I understand that we can just lop it off and not have them. But if there's already people who bring their dogs to play, I mean, it's going to be double the ordinance change, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay,
If you
so
decide
that's
to
a
change it again
second
later, we
charge.
would have to
Yeah.
do another amendment. Yes.
Yeah, and that's not,
And they're gonna do it anyway.
yeah,
Well, but even if we come back and say, no, we're not going to allow it, it's still going to take a change at that point too. So
Right.
whatever we do, we could end up having to do another amendment to it.
So something to keep in mind as we do that, if we're going to delineate the difference between Johnson Park and the baseball fields, the baseball fields are not currently named anything. So just something to keep in mind as this comes up, when we go to delineate those two, we're going to need to name that park something. So just,
I thought they were already numbered, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
well, the baseball field is, but what are we going to call? Are we just going to call it the Johnson Park baseball fields? Or do you want to name it something different like we have done with Anderson football field and Pittman Park? Are you going to want to name, just something to think about as we go to delineate these and define them?
Thing.
How are you going to define if you delineate two different park areas?
You got Johnson Park and you got baseball field 1, baseball field 2.
Okay.
I mean, keep it simple.
I'm fine with that.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
fine with that. We can identify them that way.
Okay.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay, next item, review of Civic Plus meeting management.
Yeah.
This will take just a minute real quick. I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see. We are now live with the new Civic Plus meeting management software. What this software is that's what you see Mindy working on as the meetings are ongoing. She's actually back here already creating the minutes as the meeting's going on. She's taking attendance, roll call, votes, all electronically through the computer right here. So that actually speeds up the process for her. It actually speeds up the process of creating the agendas and so forth, easier for staff members. And then publishing that and building the packets, all that stuff is extremely easy now as compared to the old way of getting agenda items to her. She would get a stack of paper, have to organize it, build it, and then get it sent out to you. So with this change, you're going to notice that there's a change now on the website. When you go to our government, and you hover down over agendas and you click on that, it'll actually takes you to an external page that looks a little different than our agendas were previously posted. On this page, you'll see all of the upcoming agendas or upcoming meetings that are scheduled. And on the right-hand side, when those agendas and packets are published, you can actually click on these PDF links here and actually download your agenda packet or just the agenda. The public also has access to this, so it increases our transparency with the public. Everything that you get, with the exception of executive session items, is already available to the public right here through this website. So they can access it. They can also go back and search historical meetings and pull up those previous agendas. The other benefit here, well, before I do that, they can filter down if they want to choose to filter down through EDC meetings or Capital Improvement Advisory Committee meetings, EDC meetings. They can pull up different meetings at different dates and do searches that way as well. Once the meetings are complete, the video links are published, and the citizen or you can actually click on that video link for that meeting, and it takes you to a separate page where you can watch the video. You can actually click on the agenda item that you're interested in. If you can't remember what we discussed for whatever reason, you want to go back, what did we talk about a year ago at this meeting? You can actually click on that item itself. And when you click on that item, it'll automatically start the video when we just started the discussion related to that item.
That's pretty cool.
So it actually really improves efficiency here and makes it more transparent for the public to go back and view what we've been talking about. It makes it easier for you if you want to go back and view what we discussed, or maybe you missed a meeting and you wanted to watch it or catch up on the topic, whatever it may be. So I just wanted to briefly cover that with you, let you know that the system is live, it is operational, and it's on the website as of today.
How far back is that going to be?
Only to April 19th. Anything older than that, we'll have to go back through Mindy's office. We'll have to get records, and we can send you links and that kind of stuff. But we started this on April 19th.
And it's called Civic Plus Meeting Management.
Yes, ma'am.
Huh.
Or Muni Code, either one. They're one and the same. The Muni Code bought out Civic Plus, or the other way around, one of the two.
So it'll be used for all the board meetings, not just council meetings.
Yes, Animal Control Advisory Board, EDC, capital
Okay.
improvements, planning and zoning, all of them.
Any other questions,
No.
comments?
That's pretty good.
Next item, consideration possible action, item A, city council election of mayor pro tem. So, by charter, we're supposed to do this yearly,
Every year.
so, been a few times we forgot about it, so,
We have.
Few times.
but anyway, we'll entertain a motion for mayor pro tem.
I'll make a motion that we have Susie Mackey as mayor pro tem.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other nominations? Would you poll the council?
Aye.
Place three,
Aye.
place five,
Aye.
place six,
Aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Next item, item B, approve proposed civic center rental policies.
Before you entertain a motion on this, Mayor, I think it's worth discussion. Because there may be some potential changes here, so rather than making a motion and then having to amend that motion, I think it'd be worth discussion first. I did want to we discussed this at one meeting previously, did kind of a quick review. Now that council's had some time to dig into it and think about it, I just wanted to bring it back to the table. One idea that was brought up by Councilwoman Davila was potentially offering a resident discount for individuals who actually live in the city. In other words, keeping the prices the way they are, but maybe offering a percentage discount of some sort of your choosing on the price for anybody who actually lives in the city. As far as businesses are concerned, our plan is to offer the conference rooms to businesses here in the city at no charge. If they look to host an event, they will need to pay a fee for that event, the banquets or those sorts of things. But the conference rooms and training and any of that kind of stuff that'll support their actual business, all that will be available to the businesses at no charge. But to residents, I don't know how council wants to proceed there. So that's one concept or one item to discuss. The other item to discuss that we need to try to finalize tonight if we can is the actual pricing. If council is comfortable with the pricing that we've set or have proposed, I can tell you we've researched other similar venues, particularly municipal venues, and we tend to be a little bit lower than a lot of the other municipalities are related to the Civic Center rentals. We can certainly lower it more if council chooses to, or raise it more. It's obviously your choice. But I think the rates that we have here are fair and equitable compared to other municipalities and similar facilities. To give you an idea of what the cost is, because there's a lot of different factors in here. I actually built a little sample for Councilwoman Davila when we were discussing this. For somebody to rent the facility currently on a Saturday for 12-hour rental, if they're going to have an alcohol at the event, and the kitchen, as well as providing for security for police officers, 2 officers, and tablecloths. The total comes to $3,815. $750 of that is a refundable deposit. So as long as there's no damages there, they'll get $750 back, costing them a total of $3,065 for a Saturday venue. That's actually pretty decently priced for a venue such as this when we've looked at other private and public venues. So just something to keep in mind.
You said the whole venue is 3,500?
3,800.
3,800 for the whole venue to include the alcohol deposit, kitchen rental, tablecloths, police security at the event. That is the grand total.
And the conference room, all conference room?
No, that does not include any conference rooms. Conference rooms are priced differently. It is, if they're renting the main ballroom, then it's $30 additional for each room that they choose to rent on top of that. So if they wanted to rent one of the conference rooms as maybe a dressing room or something like that for a wedding or a quinceañera, then they could do that. It would cost them $30 additional.
Okay, and so you did this compared to which venues?
We looked at Forest Hill, Fort Worth, Arlington, North Richland Hills, and I think Hearst. We looked at a lot of the different cities and what they were charging for their rates. A lot of the things in here in the actual policies were, I don't want to say stolen, but were shared to us from the city of Forest Hill. So we followed a lot of the policies, things Forest Hill, but the pricing is significantly less.
Right,
Cities
theirs is pretty
that you
steep.
mentioned, they have a little bit more money than Everman.
What I was gonna say is,
People, I mean,
there's a lot of people around the areas that do rent those halls. Like I've been to Hearst and people have rented their big Civic Center there because there's
Well,
so
Hearst
many
is
people
huge.
around. It's so huge versus we're here at Everman and people will probably, once they see our facility, it's going to be very nice. And I think for non-citizens, the price may be very, very reasonable for non-citizens. But for citizens, it is a very, very steep price.
But like Craig said too, we are lower than all of those different venues. We've got to make sure we get our money, enough money comes in to pay
Damages.
pay the
damages,
bond
but
package and stuff.
yeah, one of the things that we talked about trying to do with the revenue that we make for the first several years from the Civic Center is apply that revenue to the tax notes that were taken out by the EDC. Because remember, the EDC took out $500,000 in tax notes, so they're contributing between $70,000 and $80,000 a year for the next 5 to 6 years towards that facility. So we're trying to lower the impact on that EDC fund as much as we can. Whatever revenue we generate here, we'd like to try to offset that expenditure to the EDC fund there.
One thing about the residents, and I agree, maybe we should have a discount for our residents, but the problem with a resident is Sally, who lives in Azle, decided she wants to come out here, and Becky over here is her good friend. So Becky's going to be my sister, and Becky's going to rent it for me. And Becky doesn't bother to show up, and Sally destroys the place, and we got nothing out of this. So my concern is, how are we going to know they're really residents? Because Becky shows up with her driver's license, but it's not Becky's party.
On page 20, you list who it's, okay, you said local businesses, senior citizen group, and retired teachers, retired teachers, and okay, it's free to them. And then you say to the employees, it's a reduced rate up until the third rental or something like that.
Yes, when we discussed this before, we wanted to offer it to employees and city council members. First rental at a 75% discount, second at a 50% discount, third in a year at a 25% discount. Previously, we were always allowing city council members and staff to utilize the facility at no cost. So what we wanted to do is because of the cost of the facility and the debt that the city has incurred to be able to have this facility, we need to be able to collect something
Yes.
and also deter overuse of the facility that would prohibit a revenue source for the city from the facility, if that makes sense.
Well, no, my reason why I brought that up was because it's like free to everybody. So where are you going to get money? How are you going to get money for rentals? I mean, if it's Everman local businesses, and like I said, senior citizen organizations and for staff.
My
It's
understanding was the
so
conference
I
rooms,
think
right?
I think the key is in the wording. They may utilize the civic center rooms for meetings and events if the center is available for usage. So if it's already
available.
pre-rented and you know, we're not gonna allow somebody to just come in here and utilize it for free and kick a potential revenue source out.
You're not talking about
But
the
you're talking
ballroom,
about
you're
only
talking about
conference
the
rooms.
conference rooms,
Yeah,
right?
he's talking about the conference room.
Right, conference
the
rooms. And we can
ballroom.
change the wording there to specifically say conference rooms, if that's better.
They're not gonna get the banquet room for free.
Right.
It's just the conference rooms.
Okay, now far as renting it out, at first, when we used to rent it out, it was saying no churches and things like that, but then churches were using it. I guess they were renting it, I don't know, but they were holding service there. So is it going to be open if I want to rent the church out every Sunday from 12 to 2 or something like that? I mean, are you limiting it to who can rent it for its concern on a consistent basis like that?
I don't know that we necessarily have a clause in here that prohibits that, but we can. I mean, I would defer to your
It sounds like it's being
guidance
leased.
there. I mean,
Right.
if a church facility, in my opinion, wants to rent the facility at $2,000 a week for a Sunday service, and that's gonna guarantee $2,000 a week in revenue to the city, do we want to allow that? Do we not want to allow that? I think a church would go broke doing it. Honestly,
Yeah.
I don't know. At that rate, I just don't know that a church would want to utilize that facility for that.
Well,
think it would
Forest
be a
Hill
short
has a
term.
church in there every Sunday.
Yeah,
Using
but
their
I don't know if they
facility.
have some sort of special, I don't know. I don't know if they have some sort of special agreement or what, or how you would like to proceed there.
I mean, maybe we should not allow a church. Maybe they're using it for a banquet or something for a church, but maybe to host church, I'm not.
I think our whole concern last time was just
Agreed.
them coming in and taking it every single Sunday when we may have a resident
Yeah.
wanting to utilize it
Yeah.
on a Sunday.
Yeah.
That was our concern before.
Well, in that case, then I don't know that I would necessarily I don't want to say target, necessarily say restrict churches. I think we would want to restrict it as a whole. Maybe only a certain renter can rent it a maximum of 4 or 5 times a year. That way it prevents any group, whether it's a church, a youth organization, any group coming in here and renting it every week,
Or twice
Or
a
every
quarter,
Sunday.
3 times a quarter, or something like that.
if we want to restrict it that way. But I would be very cautious about
The word.
singling out churches, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
Yes,
because
it
whatever we
does.
do, we got to stick with it.
I know that was the example provided, but I mean, we need to be fair to everybody either way.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's up to y'all.
I mean, I don't have an issue with churches using it, but I want to make sure that if one of our residents needs it, that it's available to them.
Then I
So-
say restricted clause in there for how many times they can actually use that as a church
Or as any kind of entity.
or any
Yeah, yeah,
entity that's going to use it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Setting it up now. besides just our residents.
Right.
Were new tables and chairs purchased or?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes, they were. We have available seating without tables for 363, and then seating with tables up to 220 sometimes, somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay, now it has, you can bring your own visual and audio equipment, or can you rent it, or how is that?
We can provide the projector and the screen. They will, anybody who rents a facility will need to provide their laptop and whatever they choose to display.
Okay.
Do y'all have to check any of that out?
Yes, so
Thought that
that's
was in
on,
there.
that's on the application. They'll have to indicate whether they want to utilize audio and visual equipment. If they do, then we'll have our staff make sure the equipment's tested and set out and ready for them to be able to utilize.
For security, is security, I know, it used to be, well, if you were having something, you would have to pay a police officer for security. Is that still the case, or how
Yes.
is it now?
That is still the case on any event that requires alcohol, and I believe for any
That's
event,
only alcohol.
well, and any event, I believe that has an excess attendance of 50. If they have 50 or more individuals, then they're required to have a police officer there.
It says 100,
Now, is it 100? Okay,
page 22.
okay, then 100 or more, they'll be required to have a police officer there.
Or alcohol.
Now, there are some instances, and it's always been the discretion of the police chief to determine, because we've had instances before when we had the Civic Center before, where a church group would want to rent it for a senior citizen event, and they had 75 people, and the policy said they had to have a police officer. Well, okay, we would waive that so they didn't have to pay that. We really didn't feel that there was a need for them to pay for a police officer to be there during a senior citizen event. So it kind of leaves it open to our discretion to determine on certain instances if there really is a need for security at that event or not. If it's a party or if it involves alcohol, then yes, we're gonna mandate that they have some sort of security there.
Yes.
Well, let's get back to this limiting the number of days. What would everybody feel comfortable with on that? Kind of got off track.
You mean as a group?
Like we're talking about a group or
Any organization that
I
needs
don't
to
know, what,
utilize
once
it.
a quarter?
About twice a month.
Twice a month.
What are you thinking?
I mean,
I would say maybe twice a
Once a
month.
quarter?
I mean, twice a month, I'd be okay with that, as long as we still have Sundays that'd be
Sundays.
available for.
And there would
Oh,
be
you're talking
Sundays,
about the
right? And
church,
it would be
but we
Sundays, not
back to
Saturdays.
Well,
talking
we're
about-
not necessarily talking about church. We're talking about any
Any
group.
type of.
We don't
Any
want a
group,
group
to
coming in
include
and renting
churches,
it
but
every
any-
single Saturday, every single Sunday from here on out. We need to have it available to the citizens, taxpayers that have paid for the
Yeah,
bill.
yeah.
So,
Maybe like you said,
Once
twice.
once a month.
Once a month.
Yeah, no,
That'd be once a
What?
month.
Once a month.
once a
Once
month.
a
Once a month.
And that would what include Saturday or Sunday?
well, I mean, just once a month is once a month.
Yeah,
So
okay.
that's pretty self-explanatory. So,
Yeah.
Why would you need it more than once a month?
well, no, she was asking,
No, I understand. I'm just trying to put myself in somebody else's shoes.
for the most
Why
part,
would
you
you need
wouldn't.
it?
you know,
Right,
you-
right.
Your
You wouldn't.
civic groups meet monthly and,
Yes.
uh,
What if somebody had party at the beginning of the month and they had a separate party at the end of the month? If they're doing, say their kids' birthdays. I don't know.
Plan ahead.
If it's available.
but
I mean,
same
this is
time,
organizations, like things that are, it's gonna be repetitive to have.
Right. So that would be on a case like that, that would be mom, a citizen wanting it for a birthday party,
Not an organization.
not an organization. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I was just giving you.
Right,
Scenario.
right. Oh, we need this. Think through it. Once a month. I mean, we can always go back, spend more money and change the ordinance if we need to.
I know Craig's getting a lot of interest in the facility, people wanting to
Good.
rent it.
It's
So,
excellent.
But have they've already reserved?
well, they can't right now. We had.
We haven't published the.
So
guidelines.
you got interest, but they have no idea what we're really looking at for
Right.
pricing and stuff like that.
But it don't matter. If we're cheaper than everybody else, they're gonna come here.
I don't
So-
believe that.
Well,
Well,
it'd be hard to
The
believe,
groups he's talking to, yes, they want to come here.
but that's groups. Are they citizens?
These are groups.
Right, you see,
So,
but that's the
But
difference.
once
when-
again, you gotta remember, we've got to pay for that building. We can't pay for the building out of general fund.
You're talking
We
about
need to bring in
everyone.
enough revenue to pay for this building.
Right, and I understand it's a very, very
So-
beautiful building, and of course, we're not gonna give it for
So-
free or for cheap like that, but
If council is,
something reasonable.
if council is
You don't wanna say
concerned that the
damn.
price is too high, then the recommendation I would have is let's start with a lower price. If we show to have a bunch of interest, we can always come back and adjust that price up. It's very hard once we start a project like this to adjust a price down. Because if we go and adjust the price down, everybody's already gonna have a bad taste in their mouth about the facility if they don't like the price for whatever reason. And it's gonna be hard to adjust that back down and still maintain interest. So
Do we
Can I
want to do
say-
that, or
would
we
think
just
that
want to do the
opposite.
resident thing like Mary was
Right.
talking about, just strictly for our residents?
Can I give an example of the prices that I thought would be reasonable comparing to, I do a lot of parties and I do have a lot of people that do a lot of parties, and y'all think what y'all think?
Okay,
I
now are
mean,
you referring to the conference rooms
To
or
the
are you
ballroom.
the ballroom?
The
Okay.
ballroom.
Okay,
So-
what do you got?
Non-citizen, we keep it just the way it is,
Okay.
non-citizen.
Mhm.
Citizen, just $500 less on the total, every section of the amount except for the hourly Monday through Sunday.
$500 less on each charge.
Yes, like the 8-hour Monday through Thursday, be 800 instead of 1,200. 12-hour Saturday instead of 2,500 would be 2,000,
Mhm.
and 12-hour Friday or Sunday from 2,000 to 1,500.
And
For residents.
what would you be your recommendation on
residents.
hourly? Keep it where it's at?
Oh, 150, just
Where are you looking
$100
hourly?
less.
The first column here is hourly rates
Mhm.
for the ballrooms, 250 an hour.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that. My problem is having them prove they're really
Oh,
citizens
yeah,
and they're using it for their business, not Cousin Sally out in Azle.
Yeah.
That is my big problem with
And how
giving
will
discounts like
we-
that.
How
How do
will,
you enforce
how
that?
will we control that?
and the thing is, we need to make it available to our citizens.
Right.
Yeah, but if they get somebody to do it for them.
yeah, she's saying, what if
So
somebody
somehow
rents
it's gonna have
what
to
if
be
somebody
checked.
rents it for them?
Yes.
Craig, is there any way to check that?
I mean, if we're having a police officer already there because it's mandatory,
Yeah,
Why
but if
would
the
he not be
person
able
that
to-
actually rented the hall, even though it's not for them, if they show up, who's to be any wiser, so.
right, but if they show up, then we know that they are
I don't-
liable because they're the ones that
Police
sign the
law.
contract.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't,
they're gonna be liable anyway, because it's gonna be their,
I think with the processes that we're gonna have in place, I don't think that's gonna be the huge concern if it's actually a resident renting it or not. We should be able to implement policies for that. We've already got pre-inspection policies and post-inspection policies of the event hall. We can make sure that the person renting it is signing for those inspections. The person who's renting it is the one responsible for paying the police officers upon their arrival at the event. So, I mean, they're gonna have to be there. And if they're not, we can just shut the event down and keep the deposit. I mean, that's not a problem.
but they are required to be there, aren't they? Because I know the old building they were.
I mean, it is claused in here, isn't it? I thought I saw
Yes,
it on the
yes.
paperwork.
Okay.
Well, the old building got beat up a multitude of times
Mhm.
because Sally out in Azle brought her family who had nothing to do with Becky out here and just beat the building up.
Mhm. But
Right. Or-
that's where the fees and stuff come in. Why not charge the people for damaging it versus just saying, well, you can't rent it anymore? I mean, what's the purpose of making up rules and if
Well,
you're not going
we're
to
agreeing
follow?
with you. We
Oh.
need to follow through.
Or let's say they really
yeah, no,
cause major
we do.
destruction, you know,
No,
you
but see,
ban them
that
for
was
the
the
year.
problem. They never did follow up and make them pay for the damage. They just said,
Right.
oh, we're not gonna rent it out
Yeah,
anymore.
Right.
That's
This is
gonna
a
have to
different
change.
scenario now.
Yeah, so
So-
in with the inspection process that we've set up here, the police officers will conduct the inspections. The application that we're using for the inspections, it forces them to take photographs of the condition of the building before and after. There's a checklist of things that they're gonna have to sign off. The resident doesn't get their deposit back until that checklist is signed and submitted to Jennifer's office, who processes the actual check to do the refund.
Okay.
If there are any damages noted, then we'll certainly take care of that. We're gonna take care of this building, I can assure you.
On the cancellation, it's saying 120
Yeah,
days.
yeah.
If you cancel the event, that's 4 months.
You wanna lower that number?
Well, I mean, 4 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a lot.
You wanna do the 30 days?
I would say 60, 2 months. because that allows somebody else to be able to rent the place. If we
Right.
cancel, we don't lose money.
Well, if you have
I
a
mean-
decent sized event, 2 months out, you're gonna know.
Can you, we're bouncing all over, but can you tell me where that is,
On
ma'am? Do you know?
page 20,
20, okay.
Cancellations.
And it all depends. Maybe we can say an emergency basis. You know, like if something emergency happened, then
Yeah.
30 days prior, but it has to be illness, emergency.
Yeah,
Like,
I
you
need
know,
a
like they
picture
do
of
in
you in
Civic.
the ER with
Yeah.
tubes in your arms, you know what I mean?
But Craig, you got some leeway on that too, don't you?
We can add that to
What
where
did
I
you
have. leeway.
say?
We could give Craig the authority on cases, on case by case, if something like that
Yeah.
happens like that.
Yes.
That he could
Yeah.
waive
Yeah.
the fees.
I'll go for that. I mean, I may not rent it 4 months in advance. I may rent it 3 months
Well,
in
yeah, and if
advance.
it's available, yeah,
Right,
why not? Yeah.
Right.
But this is for like people
but
that
this
have
says
rented
I-
it like a year out
But
because,
this
you know, they already
says
know
I
that they're
have
gonna
to
have
cancel
something
it
else.
within 120 days and I didn't rent it within that 120 days. So,
Oh, I see what you mean.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So we want to change that to 60 days, is that correct?
I'm good with 60.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
On page 21, it requires the full payment to be due 30 days prior to the event, so 60 days, I would think
Okay.
would be reasonable.
Okay.
Okay.
But let's put a clause in there that give you the authority to,
Some wiggle room on
yeah.
that. On that 60 days.
Or at the discretion
Yes.
of.
Emergency. come
Yes.
up or
City
something.
manager or acting city manager.
Yeah. For emergency.
Because they do happen.
They do happen, yeah.
You know, somebody can pass away and then
would
You can't have a
insurance
quinceanera
be
wedding
for?
anymore because your family member just passed away.
So the insurance would be to cover any
Yes.
catastrophic damages that exceed the deposit.
Okay.
Now, that is another topic that was brought up, that we do have a company that we can reference individuals renting a facility to. The typical insurance policy cost about $50 to get that coverage that's listed in here. We could, damages over there would fall underneath our standard TML insurance policy, which means we'd be responsible for the deductible and filing that claim. The building is going to be insured by us, but we would then have to inherit that responsibility of filing that claim with our insurance.
No, I like them having that
Well,
responsibility.
okay.
Forest Hill does that. They,
Yes,
so,
yes.
Mhm.
yeah, $50, that's a small price to pay. So.
Up under weapons, it says it's the client's responsibility to determine if handguns are to be allowed at client events.
Yes, ma'am. If alcohol is served at the event, firearms cannot be permitted at the event.
Mhm.
We will have the portable signs that can be put out for events involving alcohol. In other words, what that does is that takes the responsibility. If somebody rents a facility and they choose to serve alcohol there and they did not disclose that to us, and there's weapons involved on the property with alcohol being served, that releases us from the liability. It holds the renter responsible criminally for that offense.
Okay, so if I rent it out, I can, as long as I sign that I'm having alcohol, that's fine. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we'll put the signs up that say no weapons are permitted because.
No, I was talking about something different, just different alcohol period now.
Oh, I got you.
But I was talking to Craig and the handgun thing is similar to, City Hall, we cannot restrict people from walking to City Hall carrying guns.
Right.
So that falls under the same rules. So the only area they can't is during court, correct?
Court or council,
So,
correct.
but so the same scenario for that building.
Okay.
And we're overridden on that, so.
All right, real quick, so we don't, because we've been bouncing all over the place. Can we get back to fees? Do you mind if we get back to fees?
Yeah.
So we can
Write it down.
Determine that. Okay. Did we make a final decision here on what council wanted to do?
Well, Miriam recommended knocking $500 off each one for residents.
Example, she gave
And
us
then
500.
the hourly rate down to 150. Everybody good with that, or they?
Can you give us a dollar amount, please?
It would be hourly rate at 150,
Wait a minute, which day? Two,
Monday through Sunday.
okay, 150.
8-hour Monday through Thursday, 800 for citizen. 12-hour Saturday, 2,000 for citizen. 12-hour Friday or Sunday, 1,500 for citizen. That is just my suggestion.
Yeah.
For a bona fide citizen. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, now think about it
Not
too.
so.
You know, when our building got tore up, it was citizens.
That's all right. We're gonna hold them to it.
I think that once they really see the beautiful, I really think we will definitely take pride in it and really, as citizens, take good care of it. I mean, this is what I would go out to hunt for a hall. This is what I would pay. If not, then I'm having a party at my house. You see what I mean? I mean, and that's just my opinion. I mean, I think we are at a fair rate unless you go down to the other areas and,
Can I-
encounter a cheaper hall.
The only comment I would have would be on the hourly Monday through Sunday. That's every day of the week. If somebody's gonna have a birthday party there on a Saturday and they only want to have it for 2 hours, they've taken up the Saturday. We won't be able to rent it to somebody else and we've only made $300 on
Oh,
that.
no. That should just be Monday through Thursday.
So we could either change, well, we can change that to Monday through Thursday, but then there's no hourly option for Saturday.
then
event.
have-
Or
Oh.
my recommendation would be to keep that one at $250 for
Or
citizens.
7 days a week or,
The hourly rate, 7 days a week, at either $250 an hour, or they can pay the $2,000 for the whole day.
That's not bad either for the ball.
Yeah.
Should be many.
Maybe 2 hour
No,
minimum.
that's not bad at
Or
all.
you can have a day party on Saturday from just like, let's say from 11 to 3. And then it opens up the hall for a real big party from 5 to 12.
Well, they get an hour to clean up.
But,
Oh,
but,
true,
well,
true.
we
Okay,
can't,
never mind.
if somebody else is paying for a 12-hour rental, we have to make sure the facility is available
Yes,
for the
yes,
12 hour.
okay. But maybe
Okay,
Saturday should
so
not be
if-
available.
If, okay, say for instance, if I just need it for 2 hours on Saturday and I've already reserved it and Miriam comes in to say, I like it for the whole day, would you boot me
No,
out for the
no,
whole?
it's first come, first serve. Once deposit's made, it's rented.
But
We,
then
we,
we
we
lose
we will
money.
not be booting anybody.
She
based
may
off-
come to you to beg, but they're not gonna do anything to you.
Yeah, but then remember, we got to keep in mind, we're trying to bring in the most revenue from it. So if we do that, we're definitely losing money on renting it for the whole 12 hours. I mean, just being sarcastic about it, just being real.
Well, I mean, it's the truth.
So- Right,
Yeah,
right. So,
yeah.
I mean, or we either leave it from Monday
Well,
through Thursday only
yeah, but-
and not on a weekend.
so do we want to do the hourly wait 7 days a week? Or we want to do it 5 days a week?
Or on a Sunday, nobody really has big parties
Yeah.
on a Sunday.
Well, we're talking about Friday, Saturday
Mm.
for the 12-hour events, right?
Right.
Or was it Saturday, Sunday?
Saturday,
Saturday by itself and Friday.
12 hours, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, my recommendation is to keep it at 250 Monday through Sunday.
Now,
Because if
Okay.
somebody's gonna rent it for 2 hours, that's still $500 within rent.
is 2 hours the minimum?
It
We can
needs to
add
be.
that.
It
We
needs
can make
to
that a 2-hour minimum.
It needs to be.
I mean, it's kind of
It's-
pointless to do it for an hour.
Yeah, it's gonna
Right.
have to be a 2 hour. You gotta get in there and set up, and then you gotta clean up.
And
Yeah.
2 hours kind of pushed it, so.
Really?
What would be the starting hours?
I mean,
Uh,
like
I
8
mean,
o'clock in the morning to
right.
10 or 8 to 12 or.
Do we
I
have
mean,
that?
what if, any time. I mean, I don't think there's any restriction on what time they can rent it, as long as they comply with all the noise ordinances. They want to have a 4 AM party inside and it's not disturbing anybody. They're not serving alcohol in violation of TABC and they want to pay us $2,000 to do it. I mean, we can take it.
Or we could say 7 to.
Well, that may be a deal where you have a little wriggle worm and you say you have something like that, you're gonna have to say no to,
Well, but
depending on
I
whatever their
don't really
plans
want
are.
to put a time on here because if somebody wants to rent for a conference and that conference starts at 8 AM and they're going to do a whole setup before that conference starts, then they may show up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to do their setup.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think we'll just have to address that as it comes. But again, as long as they're complying with all the ordinances and they're indoors and not causing any sort of disturbance or anything.
Well, I wouldn't be concerned with them coming in the morning and setting up. I'm more concerned with those that have been there all night and they're there till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
That's when
that's,
PD's gonna start.
That's
having
over their
issues.
12 hours.
yeah, that's
Well,
over.
not if they come in at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Is that in here? I think the end time is in here. Must
Oh,
be
Well,
out.
the end time is
Is
12,
midnight.
isn't it?
Yeah, the event end time.
Yeah,
must
I
be
think
by
the end
midnight.
time is 12 PM.
It's
Okay.
hard to have it at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
12 PM, I think it's the
Alright.
time at the end.
Are you looking for anything else, Craig, or did you get what you needed?
Did we make a decision on the Monday through Sunday?
So we're just gonna do away with or just keep the hourly rate where it's at,
250?
250 with 2 hour minimum?
That makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Miriam,
Yeah, that's fine.
Judy,
I'm
Linda?
I'm good.
Okay,
So it's $150 Monday through Sunday hourly. I mean, $250 Monday through Sunday hourly, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Then
2 hour
still
minimum.
$800 for 8 hours,
For a resident, yes.
2,000 for 12 hours on Saturday,
Yes, ma'am.
and Friday or Sunday, it's 1,500 for
For
12
residents.
hours.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am,
for
for residents. Now, just so I understand, outside, non-residents still pay the initial
Right.
proposed amount.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
only residents.
Okay.
As long as we're,
We're gonna add that.
as long as we're on our favorite page, on page 20. The second line at the top. The first word, alcohol.
Well,
Please.
yeah, I told him there was some typos in here, so.
Oh,
I thought, oh, that's good. I know y'all gonna have to redo everything anyway, so that's fine.
Page 20.
spell check is free.
Hello. Alcoholic. Alcoholic. We'll change.
You've been partaking of it and you can't say it anymore.
Okay.
So any other discussion on the rental, or Craig, you need anything else?
Oh, I do. I do.
Okay,
I
go
just have
ahead.
two things.
Okay.
Just two things.
Alright.
Okay, so maybe the food service. So I do,
What page are you on?
I think it's page 5 of the contract, maybe?
Page 21 altogether. In the
Oh,
packet.
21.
Food service, okay.
Okay, so it says the city reserves the right to assign exclusive catering services at its facility if desired. Clients should make arrangements with the city at least 2 weeks in advance of the event. All caterers must provide a Tarrant County Health Department permit to city 2 weeks in advance of the event. Okay, so when I've made my parties, we cook our food. We make the big things of rice, the big things of beans, and everything we provide. I don't have a Tarrant County Health Department permit. So with this being a clause in here, that means it has to be a catered event. I may not want to have a catered event. You know, I'm just putting myself out there as anybody too that would just want to cook their own food and provide their
I
food.
didn't take it like that.
So that's what I want clarification on. So when, are we
Well, I thought it
required
had
to
to be
have
catered,
catered?
period,
Well-
and brought in.
You cannot, all food has to be brought in. It cannot be cooked on site.
Right.
Right.
But I thought we could we could cook our own food at our own homes and bring that in, or because we're not
That's what I want
cooking in the
clarification.
kitchen, we're bringing our own stuff pre-cooked in. Or this thing says food service. I thought it was saying, and there's two ideas in this paragraph also. I thought it was saying if we catered it.
Right, yeah. Now, if we catered it,
Okay.
I totally agree that, you know, they have to
Yes.
fill with the, but if, I don't see where it, I didn't take it as I could bring my own food. That's why I want clarification. I
Okay.
want to know what it is that we're actually
I thought there
stating.
was something
Okay,
in
if
here
you go back
somewhere.
to page 19, and it's talking about catering and food and beverage, it says glass bowls and containers for food are allowed in the kitchen area only, no cooking pots, pans, griddles, toasters. Okay, so
Right.
Right.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. There's not going to be any method of cooking inside the kitchen.
I know,
Right.
but it says no cooking pots, so if I can't bring it in a pot,
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think at that point, we can call it a serving pot.
You're
Rather than
talking
a
like
cooking pot, if that
crock
makes
something you
sense.
Plug in to keep
We're
things
just looking
warm.
to farm out fire code stuff. We
Just-
don't want to have anybody having any form of ignition or that is going to make it into a kitchen, preparation kitchen. So
Right.
if people start bringing that stuff in, then somebody brings a pot, and a hot plate, and all, then we get into a whole other.
Well, hot plates, something
Okay.
different, but if
Well,
they made a
a grill
pan
type
full of
thing,
beans,
yeah.
can they
Well, I
not
was
bring
talking
it
about
in?
like,
the
you know,
pan?
some people are wearing like crock pots that have stuff, you know, you
Cannot,
want to keep warm.
yeah, cannot.
Okay.
They'll have to, we have a catering warmer.
Yeah.
So you can put them in the pans and bring
Okay.
those in, and you can place the food in the warmer to keep it
Yeah.
warm,
Yeah,
but
okay.
cannot do hot plates, crock pots, any
So nothing.
outdoor
So nachos
cooking.
are out of the question.
I'm sorry,
Nachos out of the question.
She did
Nachos.
Yeah,
microwave.
nachos.
I mean, unless you brought it in on a catering tray. Yeah, I think so.
Now are the little burners? that you
The catering
see-
burners,
Yeah.
those are permitted.
Okay,
The
Those are permitted.
Bunsen burners?
The,
Yeah.
what do you call them? I can't remember.
It's a
Little
pocket
candles.
warmer,
Yeah, the candle,
I
yeah,
can't
those
remember
are
the name of
permitted.
that thing.
I can't even.
I think if they're open flame, they would be, but they have the ones that are the chemical reaction, they're self-contained.
Yeah.
Those are allowed.
So no flames. We couldn't use those things.
But then you
But
couldn't
I don't
use. a
think-
No, they have the
crock pot, and a
chemical
crock pot
reaction.
is
No, there's no
flame.
crock pot, yeah. There's no crock pot. You can't bring that.
Well, you can bring it, you just can't plug it in.
So
It
if,
better be hot
if,
when you get there.
if they bring it in, they're gonna plug it in.
I just, I see open fire or open flame or the stove. I totally agree. But crock pots, putting them connected to have nachos or
But
keep
is that-
something warm, if you're not just gonna use the warmers, why would that not be
Is that a
allowed?
that-
fire
no.
code?
Is that a fire code?
issue? Crock pots, warmers?
Depends on if it falls under the food preparation, so we're getting to the subjective again.
Oh, we complied with the fire suppression system, sir. You don't have to make that argument. We spent $100,000 to make it legal.
Whether we wanted to or not.
We tried to avoid that, but
Let me go make sure that I can go through every gray area. That way I don't have anybody come back and say, no, you, that still falls under under food preparation. Let me get back with you. I don't
Well,
want.
it's
I
already
don't want to
prepared.
misspeak.
It's just there to.
Being warm, kept
Just being
warm.
kept
I don't
warm.
understand the crock pot
Someone's
either.
Interpretation of code, and I want to find the black and white, and I'll give you.
Okay, so you'll
exactly
get
what
back
it
to us
states.
on that.
Well, even if that doesn't work, you still put your cheese in a tray and put it in the
In the
warmer. So
Yeah, but
I
how
mean, I'll
hot's the
keep it-
warmer gonna get
now,
nacho
now
cheese?
Craig, the
Yeah,
question,
but-
she had on the food service here, that's just if they're catering. They have to have the health department stuff and all that if they're having the event catered.
I'm just playing devil's advocate, but I would ask you what the definition of catering is.
Right.
Whether it's brought in by a professional business or whether it's brought in by a private individual, what's the definition of catering? So I would say that no, the way this is currently worded means if you're catering, you're bringing food to be served, whether it's by an individual or a company, that yes, it would require a Tarrant County health
But
permit.
an individual's not gonna have that.
No, I understand that. I understand. If you want to change that, we can change that. But I mean, the definition of catering is going to be the issue.
Well, when you think
you're
of
not gonna-
catering, you think of somebody, you paying somebody to
Yes.
bring it in.
Right.
There's,
then-
there's
then-
money involved with that food.
Just put the word commercial food service.
Yeah.
Right.
Professional
Yep, that's fine.
catering
Yeah.
business.
So we need to
something.
change the professional food service or, something along those lines to still allow small parties
Yes.
to be able to serve food of their own.
Yes, I'm thinking
Okay.
nachos. I mean, how hard is that? But the way it's worded now, that we're not gonna be able to do that.
Just like in one of these nachos.
Thank you.
I know, it'll make them hungry.
All around, please.
Yeah,
Well, it's a
so-
simple food that is super,
The definition of catering
Easy
is the
and
provision
favorite.
of food and drink at a social event or other gathering. So it doesn't matter whether it's provided by somebody professional or an individual. We need to change the wording here to being professionally catered or professional food service
Yeah.
requires a Tarrant County health permit.
yes.
Okay, I can change that.
Did you have another question, Mary?
I did have another question. So my other question
worry.
is, sorry, I'm just trying to make this as easy.
I'm
for
sorry,
all
real
of
quick
us.
before we go away, because I moved. Oh, never mind. I found
It's
it.
pitch 21.
Thank you.
Questions that I got from my
Okay. Oh, okay. So the insurance, we said it was $50. That's something that the city's providing, or that's something that we're providing, being told that it's $50 by the city?
So we will provide a resource. We don't care who the resource actually is, but we have one that we'll make available that if somebody doesn't know, because most people don't know where they can get this insurance
Yeah.
from. So we'll have one readily available. Hey, if you don't know anybody, here's one option that you can choose. We're not limiting and we're not saying that they have to go with one particular business because that would be illegal. So we just have one that we know that provides that, and we're going to provide that as an option for them. If they choose to get the insurance through their own private insurance or any other insurance company, they can choose to do that. They just have to supply that proof of insurance to us.
Okay, and the proof of insurance is for what? The
For
purpose for what?
the liability policy,
Which is liability on the people that attend the party?
the
liability
building.
for damages in excess of what the deposit they paid will cover. So any catastrophic damages, fire breaks out, a big fight and they put a whole bunch of holes in the walls, whatever it may be, any damages that result in excess of what the damage deposit is we would then file on that insurance, that liability
Not the
insurance.
city's insurance.
Not the
for it,
city's
correct, for the
insurance.
building.
Correct.
Right.
Because like you said, with the city's insurance, then we still have a deductible we have to pay.
Now, council has the option to do away with this, but you need to bear in mind, if there are damages in excess of a deposit, that will then become our responsibility that we have to pay the insurance deposit for and get covered.
And
So,
What happened
It
to
increases
charging
our
the
claim
people
numbers
that,
and
that
that
caused the
makes it-
damage?
The rates
sorry?
go up.
What happened to charging the people that did the damage?
we can certainly charge them, but that doesn't mean we're gonna collect anything. I mean, we can certainly, but
Well,
if
that's
it's
part
in,
of their deposit.
if
too.
it's in excess of their deposit, then
Yes.
we've already charged what their deposit is. We can certainly take civil routes and go after them for the excess cost, but we may or may not collect that.
Right.
Okay, okay, and then another, well, just a small question is, okay, so your deposit will be returned to the client in 30 days,
Correct.
within 30 days.
Within 30 days.
It has to be processed.
So, so it can be 15 days to 30 days.
Most likely less. Most
Oh.
likely, most of the time, it's pretty quick. It's within a week.
Oh, okay,
Our
but we're
AP
just gonna close
yeah.
it 30 days, but it could be
Jennifer
sooner.
typically
Don't
cuts
edge
checks every Thursday.
Yeah, accounts payable
So-
is, accounts payable is supposed to process checks weekly. So as soon as the inspection is done, it'll be thrown into that weekly check run. to
Yeah,
be able to
because if I
process.
keep the hall very nice, I want my money back like ASAP to
Yes,
use it on
right.
something else. You know, just
We
saying,
gotta
that's
make
why
sure
30
you didn't
days
do
is
any
like 30
damage
days.
first.
Really? Gotta go there and
Well,
photograph
of course, of course.
Well, and if there are
Okay.
damages, then we'll need to assess proper amounts. You know, if they broke a chair, we need to assess proper cost of that chair, like whatever.
Yeah.
So.
On Friday, I guess I get signed.
So
Okay.
anything else on that?
Yes, food service on page 21. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I'm good.
Food service on page 21. It says the city reserves the right to assign exclusive catering services at its facility. Huh? That sounds like you're gonna tell me who I'm gonna use to cater.
So how about we amend this to delete this section? However, we provide a section that says professional food service and renters must, or professional food services must provide us with Tarrant County Health Permit.
But
That's
it said if desired.
Right, but it's in parentheses and the parentheses lessens the effect. I don't want the city telling me who I'm gonna use, and that's the feeling I get when I read that sentence.
So like if I use Taco Oasis, I'll have to ask Taco Oasis for their Tarrant County health thing and bring you a copy of it.
Correct.
Just take a picture of it. Okay, that was
Okay.
my question.
So anything else on that?
Mayor, there are so many changes here. I'm gonna recommend we don't take action on this tonight. Let me amend these changes, make sure I got them all right, bring it back to you at the next council meeting.
I was just fixing to tell you, ask you if we needed to just wait on this one.
'Cause I'm
Yeah,
probably gonna
sorry.
mess this
We
up.
beat it up. No, that's what we're supposed to do.
So do we,
Cooking definition is heating food products to a temperature of 145 degrees or higher, by any means, basically. So that would be a cost for
All right, we'll research that and see.
What now? Run that by me.
the definition by the International Fire Code for cooking is heating food products to a temperature of 145 degrees or higher. A hot plate would get it, we'll go raise the temperature of 145 or higher. So that would be constituted cooking, and we don't cook over in our facility.
Even if they have it on the warm.
If we have a commercial cooking kitchen over there, we have to have a fire suppression system adequate for the kitchen, which means we're gonna have to get the extinguishing systems, the temperature controls, the monitors, all that stuff that would go off to, just like you'd see over a grill at any other commercial
Yeah.
restaurant.
So
So what-
what's the
what is the
definition
warmer
of
set at?
warming?
Oh, I don't know.
We're gonna dig into that.
We'll find out. We'll bring answers to you when we bring this. back.
because food
Okay.
has to be kept at what, 140 degrees to keep bacteria from developing? So we're right
Thank
there
you.
on the bubble.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
gonna
it's
challenge that,
140.
yeah. How you gonna keep it warm? It's not cooking it. I mean, it's already cooked. It's
Right.
being brought in to remain warm
Right.
so that people don't get salmonella or whatever. Yeah, we need to research that. Please, please. Thank you.
So Craig, on this, do we need a motion?
Motion at table.
Okay, need a motion to table.
I move that we table, if I can find it. Which one is it? B,
This
I
one.
move that we table the proposed civic center rental policies motion.
I second.
Yes.
Motion made second. Any further discussion? You poll the council?
Place one. Aye. Place three.
Aye.
Place four.
Aye.
Place five.
Aye.
Place six.
Aye.
Mayor.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, next item, item C, variance to ordinance 680 to allow for the sale, distribution, of consumption of alcohol in accordance with state law for the duration of the Celebration America Festival, which is scheduled for Saturday, June 25th, 2022. I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve ordinance 680 as read.
No, ma'am. I'm sorry. Approve variance to ordinance 680.
I move that we approve the variance to ordinance 680 as read.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Sorry, ma'am.
Oh,
If you remember last year, we did this and everything went really well. We didn't have
No issues.
no issues. So,
Yes.
okay.
looking forward to it.
So will you poll the council?
Place one. Aye. Place three.
Aye.
Place four.
Aye.
Place five.
Aye.
I guess she abstains.
Mayor.
Aye.
It'll pass.
Motion carried.
Item D, variance to ordinance 6.
I know.
80.
Is that the same ordinance?
Yes.
Okay. Variance to ordinance 680 to allow for the sale of merchandise, food and beverage for the duration of Celebrate America Festival, which is scheduled for Saturday, June 25th, 2022. We'll entertain a motion.
We approve the variance to, the second variance to ordinance 680 as read.
Second.
Why do we have two?
One is to allow for the sale of alcohol and consumption of alcohol, which is a violation of our current ordinance. This one allows the sale of merchandise, crafts, artwork, food, those sorts of things.
Okay,
We have two different rules, so we've got to allow a
Okay.
variance for two different.
A and B, okay.
Yes, they're providing, take care, Kevin.
Not over
It's a cater- it's a
145
cater-
degrees.
It's a catered event.
Oh, no, they can. They can.
Oh, okay.
Any other
They'll be
discussion?
outside.
No,
Poll the council.
Place one. Aye. Place three.
Aye.
Place four.
Aye.
Place five.
Aye.
Mayor.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item E, approve ordinance 780, an ordinance of the city council of
there we go.
Everman. What's that?
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh. Approve ordinance 780, an ordinance of the city council of Everman, Texas, amending chapter 19, article 2 of the city of Everman Code of Ordinances and providing for the reduction of motor vehicle emissions by establishing limitations, prohibiting idling activities, and providing for enforcement activities related thereto, and providing for findings of fact, amendment, repealment, severability, and effective date, and proper notice. Entertain a motion.
I make the motion to approve ordinance 780 as read.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Following our previous council meeting when we discussed this, I have amended this to include the 15-minute timeline that we discussed and provided the fine of up to $500 as recommended by council previously. Other than that, no other changes from previous.
Thank you.
Would you poll the council?
Place one. Aye. Place two. Oh, sorry, three.
Aye.
Place four.
Aye.
Place five.
Aye.
Mayor.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item F, approve fiscal recovery fund allocation amendments as presented by the city manager.
I got that here somewhere.
You want a motion first or?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve the fiscal recovery fund allocation amendments as read.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Go ahead, Craig.
Okay, so we've got a whole list of some amendments here that we'd like to change. I tried to make this look very similar to the previous budget amendments that you've received. I'm not as good at Excel as Susan is, but I did my best. That first column, obviously, you'll see the name of the project. Second column was the initial allocation. That was the amount that city council originally approved for each project. Next to that is the amended allocation. This is the recommendation that we're bringing before you to change it to, and then just some notes on the side. The animal control shelter facility improvements, that's complete. It actually came in a couple $100 under budget at 9680. Therefore, we're just recommending we change the amount to the actual spend.
What did they do?
They added 5 outdoor kennels to the facility and then replaced several of the broken parts on the existing kennels inside the facility as well. The PD body worn cameras came in under budget by $30.
Were any
Water,
of those covered under warranty?
yes.
I mean,
well,
not warranty, grants, I'm sorry.
No, unfortunately not. We have pursued grants before. This was for a server-based system. So the grants will cover the actual body worn cameras that we get, but it will not cover the server-based system that we so desperately needed because we were running out of hardware space. So water and sewer infrastructure, the only changes so far, the first 3 here are still underway, so I can't tell you where we're at. I know we're under budget now, but I don't know where the final numbers are going to come in at. Administrative office repair, initially, city council approved the allocation of $20,000 to repairing the public works facility. I'm recommending that we place that project on hold for the time being. We may have an alternative to that we'll be looking at with the next round of fiscal recovery funds. We may look to recommend that council actually approve some FRF funds to build a whole new building out at the Shelby Well lot as opposed to utilizing this one. We're worried that this one's just too far gone to spend any more money on repairs for them to work out of. I just don't think it's going to be safe even with us redoing the roof.
Okay, it says administrative office repair, that's the building itself?
That's the building itself. Yeah, so we've got the 4 garage bays in there, and then there's Gilbert's office, Jeff's office, and the public works guy's office in there. I mean, just to be frank, the water damage is so extensive, the walls are literally separating and falling apart. I'm getting complaints of just a foul odor of what smells like mold, although it's not. It's just the old water smell. It's that building is pretty far gone.
Well,
And
why wouldn't,
potential
if the roof was damaged, why wasn't the roof replaced under insurance or something?
Insurance won't cover the roof. That's something the city's going to have to take care of. But the roof has been damaged for many, many years and has been so dilapidated. It's a flat roof building, which if you know anything about construction, those are so hard to maintain and keep in good shape. The damage is not something that has just occurred over the last couple of years. This damage has been ongoing for probably 10, 15, 20 years. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
tear the thing down.
Well, but that's no different than this building because how many times has this one been patched? And guess
Right.
what? It still leaks.
Yeah.
So essentially what we're looking at potentially building them a brand new strand steel metal building that's fairly inexpensive out of the Shelby Well lot that'll give them an adequate space to be able to have an office out of.
So the offices wouldn't be here anymore.
Right. And we're not, I don't want to get too far into that because we're not bringing that recommendation to you yet, but I will once I get some final numbers and we can check out the feasibility. Chlorine storage facility, we're recommending an increase here primarily due to jacked up prices. We've seen inflation that has just gone through the roof. And so the electrical costs have gone up significantly to be able to provide the chlorine storage facility. This is required by TCEQ. We are not in compliance with TCEQ currently without it. So this is something that we need to do, whether it's through FRF or general fund.
Where is
recommending we
the
use
storage
FRF.
facility?
We have the chlorine treatment for the water system itself. We have to have an adequate space to store those chlorine bottles that has alarm testing, is lockable, has a air filtration system. And right now we don't have that. The chlorine is not.
Where is it
You don't have a
currently stored?
facility at all?
No, ma'am, it's stored in a storage shed and it's not safe or adequate.
Okay.
Generator backup, the $100,000 initial approval there is not near enough to cover an actual generator that will be required for our water wells. It's actually going to be closer to $500,000. So we're seeking alternative funding sources and recommend that we just reallocate that amount. PD well site security, that came in about $4,000 under budget.
Yay.
It is complete. Technology infrastructure, the OpenGov project. I don't want to say it necessarily came in over budget, but we're lumping all the annual fees for the first year into one. So we're just recommending that we use the fiscal recovery funds here to offset the general fund for that project for the total of $169,1309. We're still well into the implementation phase of that, and we will be probably till about October before it's 100% complete.
Is this for the police department? over
No,
at
this is the
poli-
new financial management software, the cloud-based upgrade for OpenGov that all of you will have access to, that you can log in and check the financials and have your own homepage kind of thing, moving from the server-based system to the cloud-based system.
Okay, so
that-
was that a priority where the money could have been spent
Yeah.
somewhere else?
Well, I mean, it was certainly a priority because our server is dilapidated. It's a 2008 server. We would have had to have replaced that server at one point in time or another.
And they're gonna stop servicing it within a year.
Yeah, and we were coming up on end of life, so we were about to have to make a move of some sort. Fiscal recovery funds was an eligible use for it, or this was a project eligible for use of fiscal recovery funds. So we recommended we use those funds to move forward on this.
And that software also, it's OpenGov financials, budgeting and planning, and reporting and transparency platform, as well as utility billing, and it's all the modules, not just the finance.
All right. Lastly, under public safety staffing, previously, we did not allocate any funding for an additional police officer. However, if you recall, we had a police officer that was on deployment. City council approved the temporary employment of a full-time police officer to fill that gap. And then we've come back to you and with the recommendation that we maintain and keep that full-time position here with the plans of transitioning some positions and moving code enforcement underneath the police department and having that police officer focus on code enforcement. Council hasn't taken any official action here. Treasury has changed the rules. They've now published the final rule and have said and emphasized that they want us to use fiscal recovery funds for staffing and personnel, particularly related to public safety. So to soften the general fund impact, we're recommending that we utilize $25,000 of FRF funds to pay for that position that council's talked about.
So you want a police officer to do code enforcement?
Yes, ma'am.
One thing to note, that the positions have to be new positions, not current established positions.
Correct.
It can't be part of our operating budget. It has to be new positions.
Correct.
And then it only says the date. So is it only from that date through that date?
From
That,
June 1st to September 30th, yes, that is the cost from June 1st to
to
September.
finish
30th.
out this fiscal year.
Oh.
We're gonna get, if you recall, we get
That's six-
the fiscal recovery funds in two trenches.
Got it.
We received the first and we allocated all of that. We'll receive the second somewhere around September, October. We'll have to go through another round of allocation for that amount of funds at that time too.
And then if we keep this, that will be for the full year.
No,
If we keep-
$25,000 is only to finish out the rest of this.
Right,
fiscal
but
year.
when
we
we
could-
start the new RFR.
We can allocate
for the whole year
money for
that
another
person.
year for that position. That is
Yeah.
correct.
So if this 4-month period is 25,000, that means a full year of that full-time police officer is $100,000?
I can
Am I
give you
doing the math wrong?
We have it.
give me just a second.
Page 39? I want that job. I'm retiring.
Well, it's actually a little bit of a.
That's $6,000 a month. There's something wrong there.
72.
Yeah, so the total year is $72,269.13 for a full year.
So he rounded up on those numbers. So whatever's not used, we'll roll back over and reallocate towards something else. He just rounded the numbers for simplicity's sake.
Do all our police officers make $72,000 a year?
This covers salary, benefits, retirements, all the, yeah.
Accrued liability. So in the event that they quit tomorrow and we have to pay them out, we have to calculate that. That doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to pay them because hopefully they stay, but we have to incur that liability. So.
Right, but
Believe-
do all our police officers make $72,000 a year?
He doesn't make 70. That's what it costs
The
to,
the package.
that's what it costs, yes.
So each police officer is technically
Some are-
the
so-
bubble of 72,000.
Somewhere around there, yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you can see the breakout on, you attached this one.
I don't know if I touched that.
It's on-
Yeah.
Did
It's
I
on the
attach
ve-
the breakout?
The
Yes.
very last page,
Yes.
you could see the breakout of
Oh, yeah.
what,
Well,
Okay, and then,
if I had a magnifying glass.
I'm
and then you
sorry.
have 3 full-time firefighters.
Yes, ma'am. So council previously approved the allocation of $100,000 for part-time staffing. Chief Watley has hardly even touched that allocation already. All we're asking is not to change the allocation amount, but just to allow him to hire full-time instead of part-time. We're still going to stay under the allocation amount that was already approved. Chief, do you want to touch on why you need additional staffing?
Sure.
And why full-time versus part-time?
I don't know if anybody's seen on the news how where we are with healthcare and emergency medicine. Finding we could go out there and hire non-certified guys all day long. The problem is, in order to be a firefighter, paramedic, and riding on one of our rigs within our medical direction and the guidance that we have to follow and abide by state guidelines, we're talking about 2.5 years total for the school, because you've got a year total for firefighter and EMT, and then you've got another year to 1.5 years for your paramedic license. And then you still take another 2 to 3 months of internship once we hire you on in order to be credentialed with our medical director. So all of these things are completely normal, customary to the fire service and emergency medicine. Only problem is that it takes so long that we don't have firefighter paramedics out there really available like we had 10, 15 years ago. There was also a big reduction in the amount of schools that were allowed because they made every single paramedic academy become college accredited about 10 years ago. So if they weren't linked to a college, they had to shut down. So now we don't have as many educational institutions providing that to give us the amount of paramedics that we need in the industry. So that's where we come to the shortfall of how much funds are spent out of the part-time. I could, in order to actually utilize those funds efficiently and adequately to provide the staffing that I need while still abiding by the federal guidelines with limitations of how often they can work being a part-timer, I would need somewhere around 15 firefighter paramedics. To put this in perspective, a very large city that pays substantially more than we do and many other cities do in Tarrant County just had a test 2 weeks ago. They had 4 certified firefighter paramedics show up for the test. About 10 years ago, they would have 200, 300, 400.
Oh.
And they are one of the highest paid in Tarrant County. So that's where we're at in the industry.
Right.
So when we have firefighter paramedics, we're very fortunate to have a few already on our staff that are already certified, they're already credentialed, and already in our system that are certified as firefighter paramedics. Can't let those guys go. They are very, we've got to be loyal to them. And in order to actually adequately staff and utilize these funds, it's going to be a mere impossibility to do it with part-time staff. It's just not going to happen. And we have to staff with a firefighter paramedic in order to provide the service that we do.
The additional item too is that it's important to understand our call volume for the fire department is way up. It's exceeding Kennedale's by call volumes, and our staffing is half of what theirs is.
Less than that. They staff minimum staffing day to day, six full-time individuals.
Who does?
Kennedale, right next door to us.
Yeah.
Same thing before till 6 every single day. Even Rendon, now that's a whole different ball of wax. They've got different requirements being a county run department. They even staff more than we do. And our call volume is right there in Fort Sills. We're a very busy department and we are spread very thin.
One additional benefit that he hasn't mentioned is moving some of our guys that are part-time over to full-time. We don't incur any additional expenses for bunker gear and all that because they're already currently employed here. So they already have their gear assigned to them.
That
So
was when I presented this to the city manager. First, I wanted to develop a cost sheet of the cost incurred just to hire, whether they're full-time, part-time, doesn't matter. How much it costs for us between man hours, training, outfitting them, equipping them individually, not as, just a generalized, oh, we've got to spend $7,000 for an air pack. I'm not including those costs. I'm saying their gear, their uniforms, their training, their man hours to hire them. We're looking at about $20,000 that we put into each individual that we bring on. That's a firefighter paramedic. So now every single time that I lose a firefighter paramedic to another city that was part-time with us, looking for a full-time employment, I just gave away $20,000 that we've invested as a city into that one person who knows when the next time I'm going to find that qualified individual.
Okay,
The medical field has really took a toll the last couple of years.
so,
Sure.
Go ahead.
so how do we, are we able to fund 3 full-time firefighter paramedics next fiscal year?
We're gonna bring forth the recommendation. If you approve this tonight, these amendments, then just plan on the next fiscal recovery round of allocations. We're going to recommend that we allocate fiscal recovery funds for another year of employment.
Okay,
After that next year, we're going to have to make some tough decisions and check out our position financially to see if we can continue to employ them. And I've covered that risk with the chief as well. We've talked about that risk, that what happens if in a year and a half, we don't have the revenue increases that we were hoping for from the properties that are coming in, the developments that are coming in to continue to staff this, that may be a very real risk. So we're going to have to assess that as we move forward.
okay,
But for the next round of fiscal recovery funds, we're going to recommend that you allocate the funds to carry that program on for an additional year.
Okay.
And that gives us a year and a half to figure it out.
okay.
He's also still pursuing other grant opportunities through safer grants and other funding opportunities to supply the staffing that's needed. Hopefully one of those will come to fruition and help us out with that. But it is certainly an item we have to address.
The
Well,
same with the police officer position.
Well, you know, my heart is,
Because it's brought to me, all of my guys always ask about the safer grants, and I know that grants, it's free money, right? But I have also took the position that I've made to them of, we have to find a way to work within our budget to increase our staffing on our own backbone
yes,
and understand that those costs eventually are going to be ours anyways. So we've got to do what we've got to do somehow and do that growth internally. And
yes,
then if we do get a safer grant, which we will, starting in September, we are going to pursue it heavily. But if we do, we've got to understand that that's just the icing on top. That's the cherry on top.
Yeah.
Ooh, that got us into a more comfortable position. But we still need to make sure that we provide that
Right.
adequate level of staff.
well, my heart is with the emergency departments.
Definitely, for sure.
And we need whatever it takes we need because they protect the city and the citizens.
Yes.
But
Right.
then on the other hand, how are we gonna pay for this? Okay, cool, thank you.
As far as the code enforcement, we've had no one doing that right now, correct?
No,
So
we- We currently do have a code enforcement officer. Yeah, we have a code enforcement officer, but I know the desire has been somebody that can be.
what
more
have
in
they
the
been
field.
doing the job?
Yes.
Yes, it's just,
Okay.
we need somebody that can be out in the field and actually making contact with people. We think that we can get better results from code enforcement if somebody can actually go out there and make contact with people. Our current code enforcement officer is not a police officer.
Okay,
It's
so the
not,
police officer that we're going to hire next month is going to start next month.
that's the plan, yes, if we can get them in here that quick, yes. The benefit to being a police officer is that because there are times when you make contact with people regarding code enforcement issues, it can become violent or they want to take a stance against somebody. They're likely not to do that with a police officer. And a lot of times our police officers are having to go out with code enforcement anyway to take care of some of the issues that they're having to take care of. So,
Okay.
Well, I've just seen high grass and stuff. That's the
Yes.
reason why I'm asking.
yes,
Don't we have 2 right now qualified for that?
yes, we do.
That have the certification.
Yes.
All right, now, what was this?
Budget amendment.
Budget amendment.
Thank you.
You have everything, I mean, are you done, Craig?
That's all I got.
Okay, so
Allocation. amendment.
I will
Oh,
entertain a motion.
We already entertained the motion.
Yes.
Did we?
Yeah, and then we beat it up.
I got vote.
It was half an hour ago, but we did do it.
We got a vote.
I didn't write that.
Linda,
Slate.
Susan made the motion, Linda made the second.
Oh, you know what? I did write it down, wrote it down. the wrong spot. Okay. Will you poll the council?
One,
Aye.
place 3,
Aye.
place 4,
Aye.
place 5,
Aye.
place 6,
Aye.
mayor.
Aye.
motion carried.
Okay, so next item is executive session. Item A, section 551.074, personnel matters to deliberate the employment, reassignment, and duties of employees within the city of Everman. So the time is 8:04. We are in executive session.
Instead of taking a, just stop video, just stop video. and mute.
Way more than that. That's for like a 16th of the duties.
Now you're stuck.
Okay, so we will call the meeting back to order. The time is 8:18. No action was taken. Next item is city manager's report.
This one is on the agenda, so if you have any questions, you can certainly ask and we can discuss it. But the Black Tie Gala, we've gotten the invitation sent out. I did send it to your emails if you didn't get it. We are just needing RSVPs, preferably by June 1st if we can, so I can make sure to provide the Tarrant County Food Handler Permit Certified Caterer
Please. Thank you. No.
the proper amount. Of course, everybody is entitled to bring a guest with you and certainly encourage that. Fortunately, this gala has been funded entirely by sponsorships. Two big ones are Beard's Towing. They donated a significant amount of money to pay for the catering, and then Linebarger, one of our attorney firms that handles all of our collections. Yeah, collections for us. Both of those were big donors for the event. So of course they'll be recognized during the event. And we've got a lot of other smaller donors that have helped out as well, as including our law firm, some local businesses, Waste Connections, to provide a lot of good door prizes and things for everybody that'll be there. So we've got things to give out, like Rangers tickets and coolers and all kinds of stuff. So we've got a lot of sponsors for this event. It's going to be a great event. I'm really excited for it. So hope all of you can make it.
And what's the date on that?
June 24th. It's a Friday evening at 6:30.
And when's Celebrate America?
The very next.
Saturday, June 25th.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's why I'm keeping as much of it off of his plate as I can. I'm trying to take care of all the banquets. So.
Are you taking that $20,000 then?
Uh-oh.
So you said black tie
Yes, sir.
Yes, formal attire
as in suits.
or tuxes.
Tuxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ain't written no tux. But how's that gonna affect our employees?
They'll be acceptable no matter how they show up and what they can show up.
Okay.
They'll be fine.
Yeah.
Actually, believe it or not, some of them were very excited about it. I was
Yeah.
impressed. Talking about, I don't know if you've seen the suits off Dumb and Dumber, but there might be a couple of those that show up. I don't know.
Because it could probably be like the first time in a long time that they've ever had to dress up like that. You know what I mean?
Well,
So-
that was one of the reasons why we wanted to do
Interesting.
it, because many of our employees don't get opportunities to go to events like this,
Right.
especially
Yes.
at no cost.
Yes.
And so now they can go, they can bring their spouse with them and have a good time, and they don't have to pay a
Yes.
thing for it. So,
Leave early that day.
That's right.
yes.
Little PTO.
Susan provided you with, you did provide this, right? Yeah, Susan provided you with a copy of the proposed budget schedule.
Yes.
That's coming up pretty quick. Just wanted to let y'all know. If you have any questions, let us know. There are two meetings on here, the July 12th and the July 26th meeting. We're planning on meeting over at the Civic Center in the conference room. Those will be some fairly longer meetings, but we'll be gathered around the conference table. so
Start earlier.
we can-
6:30.
Ma'am, we are
We can change that.
in favor for starting early if council wants to start early. We can do that. Now, the 5th and the
job.
19th, those are regular council meetings, so those will have to start at 6:30. But the
Right.
12th and the 26th, we can start at 2:00 if you'd like.
Well, wait a minute. On the regular council
Yes, I'm
meeting
working.
nights, couldn't we start the budget workshop earlier and then do the regular meeting at
And-
6:30?
As a separate meeting, we could.
Yeah,
We certainly can.
yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, that'd get us going
say that.
earlier.
Mindy, we can do that, right?
Yeah. we
Okay.
can.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
know, I know many.
I'll be late because I get up at 5 in the summer.
Yeah.
No, we're
not
10
gonna do
hours
it
a day.
at 5.
Yeah,
5:30.
5:30.
Especially on the nights that you have the expenditures and the revenue.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'll just be there a little
So
late.
5:30.
Well, I work part-time. but it's not-
Here 5:30, do I hear 4:30?
Going.
Well, Miriam works till 5 o'clock on the weekend. Or
No, on the
5:01
Sunday.
it is.
Oh, yeah.
5:30.
About 5:30.
5:15.
Okay, 5:15.
I'm still running in, but yeah, 5:15.
It's okay.
And
You
if
won't,
they're-
you'll just miss a couple words. You'll be good.
And if they're gonna run long, maybe we could have a Subway sandwich or something.
Well, that was one of the reasons why we were planning it, so we can
Okay.
have some.
The
We're
food
not
and
gonna
everything.
cook anything over there.
For sure. No, ma'am. We would not,
Checking.
we would
Don't
not go
bring
against the
crock-pot.
rules.
No nachos.
So for
Darn,
sure,
okay, we're gonna have to work on that.
for sure on the evenings that are over at the Civic Center, we will have food involved, but we could potentially have for the other evenings as well.
Okay, bring your flashlights too, because that parking lot's gonna be dark.
If we
No,
can do
well,
early. if we
I got
could.
I mean, since you're gonna be
Yeah.
more of quorum, then I'll just get here as soon as I can.
Perfect.
5 o'clock is
Okay.
good.
You said 5 o'clock is good?
Well,
Right.
yeah, and they're not gonna be
Yeah.
voting at 5:05
No.
on anything, so I guarantee you that.
Yes.
If we don't have a quorum, we'll just wait for you to get here. We'll start
I'll
with-
try to get here as soon as possible.
So,
But 5 o'clock is good.
Okay,
I'll just
so-
stay here.
Okay,
Those two at 5 o'clock.
All right.
5 o'clock is good.
You want,
They
do you
want,
want all the meetings, all the workshops at 5 o'clock?
if we can do yeah, we can
I
do
mean,
that.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
ex-
We're on board.
And then
except
do
for
our-
all,
We'll stop, then have
This
a
one?
regular meeting.
okay,
Yeah.
except for
6:30.
August 9th is the public hearing. I recommend we leave that one at 6:30, just,
well, yeah, we should have
That
already
one.
beat the budget up by then. We,
Public hearing.
Oh, yeah, no, that's-
Public hearing for the
that
budget.
is for the adoption and ordinance, so it better
Yes.
be done.
yeah,
Okay, and
6:30 is fine on that.
And just to let y'all know, on July 5th, I won't be here. So just FYI.
So,
That's 5
And-
PM.
Are you on vacation?
so, and honestly, on August 2nd, that is just a regular council meeting,
Yes.
but should be distributing the budget books that evening, but the budget part of it should be
Yes.
done.
We'll get an updated schedule sent out to everybody.
Cool.
Make sure y'all.
So
just-
July 26th, we'll be doing a budget workshop, but we should be putting our finishing touches on it.
Absolutely.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
We got this.
As long as we have
So-
the tax rolls.
So, oh, we will. They're due the 25th. Okay, so 5 o'clock for the first four. Is that my understanding?
1, 2, 3, 4. Yes.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Earlier as we can be.
Okay. I will email out
Yes,
a
that
corrected
would be
copy.
good.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, like,
Miriam,
give us
thank you for
time.
that.
Mayor, the only other thing I've got is, as approved at the last council meeting, Elite Asphalt has already been working on the parking lot over here. So they've got the chip seal down. They do need to come back and apply some finishing touches, and then they'll follow it up with striping. But you should notice a significant improvement there. Civic Center is moving right along. They're doing flooring this week. Power's on in the building, so they're starting to get towards a lot of the finishing touches. We anticipate to be conducting our walkthroughs and punch list by the end of the month.
Yay.
Everything is
All right.
on target to
It's
be complete in
exciting.
time.
Yeah,
Yes,
it is beautiful. I mean, it's not done
All
yet, and
you
it's
got?
that's
beautiful.
all I've got.
Okay, next time is the mayor's report. All I have is everybody received the emails for the cybersecurity training and
Oh, yes,
sexual
I gotta do
harassment
that one.
training.
I gotta get that done.
Those have to be completed by May 31st.
I got plenty.
Does Kelly have a computer yet? Or no?
No, and well, we can't discuss it.
I don't
Okay.
know.
I thought I had a-
Oh, that's right. Never mind. I'll talk to you about that later. Okay, and then I sent out the city manager's evaluations to everybody.
Yep.
June 2nd. It's due June
June-
2nd. 9th,
June 6th,
6th.
that Monday.
Seventh.
Well, the meeting's the 7th.
He wants it before the meeting.
Oh, okay.
It's gotta be
Then
Jennifer.
it'll be
part.
same as last year. If you
It's-
send it in, then I will have copies here for you to sign and initial. If not, you will get a paper copy. You'll be expected to fill it out before you leave. So I did take out some of the sections that if 3 or more of the council members did not answer them.
Yeah.
Then I left them blank, or I put mayor on there. But feel free to, if something on there that you have knowledge of, answer them if you feel obligated to. So that's all I got. So with that being said, the time is 8:27 and we are adjourned.